Hey Jen, we got a few requests from some of these guys to take a look at answers to a haymaker punch.
Like this.
Oh shit.
One of the first systems we're going to take a look at is Filipino Kali. And one of the reasons for this is because Filipino Kali generally looks at weaponry-based ideas first. And if you're familiar with one of the principles we follow, the combat blueprint, we want to make sure that we're following combat science. And generally, having a weapon system to get an advantage is a good thing. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to put it first on the list. So one additional principle to think about as we go through these techniques is going to be timing. We generally will break it up into 3 areas. You're either going to be ahead of time, on time, or behind time. And you'll see several of these techniques exist more either ahead of time or behind time. So you have to be able to read what's going on in the situation. Many different weapon systems can be used for this idea. We basically break it down into 2 options, an edged weapon system and a blunt weapon system. We're going to be focusing on blunt, obviously, because it's just a punch. And we don't want to pull a blade on the guy just yet. So many different options that you can take a look at. Tactical pen, urban weaponry, anything you could get your hand on, or something you keep in your pocket. I've talked about this before, the KFM knuckle duster. I'll usually have one of these or a tactical pen. So we'll just take a look at how it's prepped. Now generally, like leading up to this event, we're assuming like a self-defense idea. I am being confronted. I can feel the tension start to raise. I've already started to get my hands up in the address position to deal with the individual, or I've started to prep one hand in a pocket. But generally I do want one online. Okay, so like we said earlier, we want at least one hand online. I'm trying to maintain critical distance, meaning I don't want to be too close to the opponent if I can avoid it. I'm trying to keep a certain amount of range. This forces them to have to take a step to get close enough to take some sort of action. So if I get a hook off of that side, I'm going to put in some sort of block and just use the weapon system right on the arm. Generally, to me, this opens the head up. I would follow it with a backhand blow or a hammer fist with the same weapon system. I don't want any trouble.
Oh yeah, you do.
Option number 2 for me is just an old school jab or cross. You just hit them the second they start to open up to throw the hooking motion or the haymaker punch. Okay, so just the old school jab or cross. They can be done closed hand or open hand. I would probably do this from the open hand position just because we should already be online and be in the address position to protect ourselves. And what I'm looking for is I'm going to be a little ahead of time here. And the person maybe doesn't know that they're loading up for this, or their body language is giving me a signal to do it. So as soon as I see it, I just fire it immediately. Probably would throw 2. All right, the next technique we're going to take a look at is out of Wing Chun Kung Fu. It's a technique called Lin Sil Dai Dar, which is simultaneous block and hit. This can be done many different ways. On a straight punch, it can be done on a hooking blow too, which is what we're looking at here today. So this concept is very similar to the one we just did. We talked about being able to recognize the motion from the threat and just taking action and trying to be a little bit ahead of time. The only difference here is I'm going to put in a block and a punch at the same time. So as soon as I see the action, right, if the hand follows through, we're hoping to catch it with this backhand. I don't want any trouble. Wing Chun's Lin Sil Dai Dar. So one of the elements you're looking for in the simultaneous block and hit is rotation of the body. Again, I'm not lining up. It's a self-defense situation. I'm still probably square with the threat. So when I throw it, one of the things that you'll see in Wing Chun is the rotation of the body, which gives it power, and it starts to move me off center line, gets me farther away from the strike. So they'll roll off to the side like that. All right, the next technique we're going to take a look at, I learned out of Muay Thai boxing. We're going to take a look at, it's very similar structure to what we're doing here with the address position. Thai generally will ride a little bit higher. And one of the reasons is because of how they can catch incoming blows with this structure. Okay, so with the hands up, one thing you got to take into consideration with this idea is I have to maintain a fighting measure. I have to intelligently navigate the space between me and the opponent. So if the hands are up and I get some sort of straight shot, it's relatively easy to bring that forearm in to try to catch or parry that idea. But again, I have to be a certain distance away from them to be able to visually read that shot coming in, that idea. So again, we're working on the haymaker. So how Thai will adjust this is when they see that option coming in, they will cup the head. So I want to protect the jaw by bringing the shoulder up and cupping the back of the head like that. And this is done most of the time for me with gloves on, but it still works very well empty hand in a self-defense situation. So if the hook comes in, I'm covering like that. One more time. Okay, so when they do that elbow block, one of the things they'll do is check the jaw or the head to maintain space. Generally, they'll bring the shoulder up on the other side to, again, protect the jawline when the hook comes in. So it'll look like that. They'll do this a lot of times to be able to set up follow-ups with elbow strikes. All right, the next technique we'll take a look at is going to be borrowed out of Keysi Fighting Method, and it is a extension of the pensador. They're able to read the shot coming in like we talked about previously, and they're just going to cover that side of the head. I'm going to follow up with a hammer fist very similar to what we saw earlier with one of the Filipino Kali ideas. Generally, the pensador will look at the situation in two ways, either offensively or defensively. Defensively, I'm a little bit on time or behind time, and I just manage to get my hands up to protect myself like that. If I am able to read it a little bit, they will turn into it and try to attack the arm with the forearm blades. So they'll rotate into it. All of them open up options after the punch. So one more time. I'll either just block, fire my shot, or I can turn into it slightly. Trying to attack the hand. And since we're on the topic of Keysi Fighting Method, I'm also going to put on this list, just use a direct elbow. Earlier on the list, we talked about an old school jab cross. I'm able to see the threat load up. I see that it's coming, so I just go ahead and fire. This technique is the same way. It's just maybe closer range. Maybe the threat has, through posturing, started to work their way in a little closer to me, so they're in range just for that straight elbow to the face or the body. Okay, the next technique we'll take a look at is the Jeet Kune Do shoulder stop. This generally can be done with either hand, just kind of depends on your position and your angle to the threat. So I'm same position, I see it coming in, and I'm just jamming the shoulder. Just jamming the shoulder. Set up possible follow-ups. Just jamming. Okay, this next one is going to be a series out of Cambodian Boxing. So for this set, she's in the address position, and she picks up that I'm getting ready to throw the punch. She's going to make a frame. You'll see she's caught the back arm and she's framing against me. Most of the time she will move me with this. This is an attack as well. They will drop the elbow and headbutt, and then they'll do a rising elbow and finish with that back elbow, like a diagonal shot. Okay, this list could be much longer, but we're trying to keep it some simple fundamentals. So next thing we're going to take a look at is some training methods, some ways that you can drill these ideas on your own. So keyboard warriors, you can just skip this part. Maybe go upstairs, have your mom make you a sandwich. Nice. Good. Okay. Nice. Nice. This is a good one. Nice one. Okay, so we looked at a few techniques off of a Haymaker punch, a few focus mitt drills that you can plug in to start to develop a little bit of timing and the ability to judge distance and space with your opponent. Anything like this, you also would want to take time to plug into some sort of active environment like kickboxing or boxing. Something that you can get together with your partner, someone who's actually going to give you some resistance, and you can play with the ideas and moves. Not all of them will feel comfortable to you. I have certain ones that I use with my guys in sparring all the time. Some of them I've learned in different martial arts. They just don't work as well for me, and that is okay. So you may lean toward one more than another. And there are a lot more options than these. These are just a few that we picked out for this list. As always, respects to my teachers and my mentors who have taught me over the years. All right, guys, if you like this material, we've done several others on striking and focus mitts. You can check those out here. And you enjoy seeing Jen kick my ass, give us a like, a subscribe, so you'll get a notification of the videos that are coming out in the future. Also, if you have friends that would benefit from it, share us with them.